Right now, I mean, as you're listening to this, your brain is probably processing a lingering notification,
Yeah.
right? Or maybe the stress of an overflowing inbox, or just that subtle background exhaustion of trying to keep up.
Oh, absolutely. That constant buzzing fatigue.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the Meaning of Life Coach. Today we are doing a deep dive into what might be the defining paradox of our time. We are living in the most hyper-connected era in human history, but psychologists are tracking an unprecedented epidemic of inner isolation.
It is wild, honestly. We have infinite connection, but like almost zero grounding.
Right. And our mission today is to explore how to move from that restless, constantly buzzing mind to a genuinely peaceful heart. We're going to do this by triangulating ancient spiritual wisdom, specifically through the lens of Islamic theology, with modern neuroscience and quantum physics.
Which I love because people usually see those fields as completely opposed. But they are often just describing the exact same mechanisms of human consciousness, just using different vocabularies.
Exactly. And I want to start with this analogy that perfectly captures our modern dilemma. We try to cure our spiritual thirst by eating digital junk food.
Yes, the junk food analogy is so good because think about it. When you eat junk food, your stomach literally expands. You feel full.
Right, you get that immediate satisfaction.
Exactly. But on a cellular level, your body is actively starving for actual nutrients. And we are doing the exact same thing to our consciousness. We fill every quiet moment with input, but the core of who we are is, well, it's malnourished.
And that brings us to how we usually try to fix this exhaustion. I mean, secular mindfulness has become this massive corporatized industry.
Oh, totally. The 10-minute breathing app.
Right. But we often just use it as a psychological painkiller. We do a quick meditation, not to fundamentally change our lives, but just to numb the stress enough so we can survive another 80-hour week on the hamster wheel of hustle culture.
Yeah, we are treating the symptom but completely ignoring the disease. And to understand why that fails, we have to distinguish between two parts of our inner lives. There is the ego, which in Arabic terminology is called the nafs, and then there is the actual soul, the ruh.
Okay, so break that down for us. What's the difference?
Well, the ego, the nafs, is driven entirely by appetite. It wants validation, worldly security, status. And because it's tied to the finite material world, it operates like a black hole.
Meaning it's never satisfied.
Never. You can feed it unlimited wealth, digital likes, career milestones, and its gravitational pull will just demand more.
So when we use these shallow productivity hacks or functional mindfulness, we're basically just optimizing how efficiently we feed the nafs, so we aren't touching the soul at all.
Exactly. What secular mindfulness lacks is an ontological anchor. It lacks the absolute certainty of our origin, our purpose, and our destination after this relatively short earthly existence.
And without that anchor, we're just floating in a void, trying to self-soothe. But let's look at the Islamic theological perspective, because it provides a very specific anchor. It presents human history not as a bunch of fragmented, competing religions, but as a continuous, logical chain of divine guidance.
Right. From the Torah given to Moses to the gospel given to Jesus, it's a singular message. Recognize your creator and your place in the universe.
But over centuries, those original messages got tangled up,
Right.
with human interpretations and dogmas. And the Quran is presented not as a brand new religion, but as a final corrector.
Yes, the Muhaymin. The goal is to strip away all those centuries of human additions and return to a pure logical monotheism, a creator entirely independent of creation, yet closer to us than our own jugular vein.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second, because when people hear theology or pure monotheism, the modern instinct is to assume a demand for blind faith. Like you have to check your rational brain at the door.
I get that. It's a super common hesitation. But this framework explicitly demands the use of the intellect, the akol. True faith, scientific reason, and philosophical logic cannot contradict each other here.
Because they're just different methods of observing the same truth.
Exactly. Believing that there is nothing worthy of worship except God is an anti-science dogma. It's actually the ultimate logical liberation.
Because if you aren't orienting your life around a singular creator, you inevitably orient it around something else. You end up worshiping modern idols. You enslave yourself to your bank account or status, or the shifting opinions of strangers on the internet.
Or even the arrogance of your own intellect, right? Recognizing a higher power frees you from those exhausting material demands.
So if we have this theological anchor, what is the actual mechanism inside us that connects to it? We're not just talking about some vague New Age heart chakra, are we?
No, not at all. We are talking about a highly specific epistemological organ called the Qalb, the spiritual heart.
And the Qalb isn't just about sentimental emotions. It's the absolute center of reason, deep intuition, and the direct perception of divine truth. It's like the central processor of reality.
Right. And the classic analogy is a highly polished mirror. The Qalb is designed to reflect divine light and truth, but the dysfunction happens when we rush mindlessly through our days.
We let the ego take the wheel.
Exactly. Chronic distraction, moral missteps, endless consumption, they lay this dark veil over the mirror. It's a kind of spiritual rust that blocks the reflection.
It's basically like having a top-of-the-line $1,000 smartphone.
Right.
But the internal antenna is completely caked in mud. You get zero signal. Instead of cleaning the phone, we walk around complaining that the cell tower is broken.
That is a perfect metaphor. The divine network hasn't dropped out. Our receiver is just blocked. We don't need to fix the universe. We have to clean the phone.
Which brings us to the purification of the soul, Tazkiyah al-nafs. The ultimate goal is to return to the Creator with a pure heart. There's that profound hadith from the Prophet Muhammad. There is a piece of flesh in the body. If it is healthy, the whole body is healthy. And if it is corrupted, the whole body is corrupted. That is the heart.
It's just beautifully anatomically and spiritually accurate. And the best part of this deep dive is the practical toolkit for this purification. The first tool is deep, sustained gratitude, or shukr.
And this is where the ancient practice seamlessly pairs with modern neuroplasticity. We hear about gratitude journals all the time, but the underlying science is massive.
Oh, it really is. Regular, deep gratitude literally changes the physical structure of your brain. It shifts activity away from the amygdala.
Which is the fear-driven reactive survival center.
Right, the part that's always scanning for threats and scarcity. And it forces blood flow into the prefrontal cortex. It boosts serotonin and dopamine. You are biologically shifting to view the world through divine abundance rather than material scarcity.
But in the Islamic tradition, this gratitude isn't just a mood booster. It is a radical stance of worship. Even a conscious breath, or smiling at a stranger, or moving a branch out of the road is an act of charity.
Yeah, it's tied to a cosmic law of abundance. The Quran essentially says, if you are grateful, I will give you more.
Okay, but let's be real. It's easy to be grateful when life is great, and your coffee is perfectly brewed. How does this work when everything is falling apart?
And that is the crucial test. This isn't toxic positivity where you just ignore your pain and smile. Shukr is paired with sabr, which is profound patience, and rida, inner contentment with the divine plan.
So it's about resilience, finding a sliver of light in a dark room, trusting that even severe trials are part of a larger wisdom that our human intellect might not immediately grasp.
Exactly. And to build that resilience, there are these amazing daily micro-rituals. Instead of waking up and immediately checking your emails, which just spikes your cortisol and triggers that amygdala.
Guilty as charged.
We all are. But instead, you do a proactive morning reset. You explicitly thank the Creator for returning your consciousness after the temporary void of sleep. You set an intention for your eyes, ears, and hands to be instruments of good.
And there's a midday practice too, which I love. Let's say you're holding a cup of coffee. You take a few seconds to recognize the massive, unfathomable, cosmic logistics required to bring that one specific coffee bean to you at that exact millisecond in time.
It completely shifts your mindset. You stop feeling like an isolated gear in a machine and start feeling deeply woven into the fabric of the universe.
And the evening ritual completes it. You don't just give thanks for the victories, you explicitly offer gratitude for the trials that grew your patience, the mistakes that gave you humility, and all the autonomic functions that kept your body alive that day.
But as powerful as that reframing is, mental reframing alone isn't always enough to fight off the modern matrix.
Right, the brain's default network is stubborn, which is why we need physical circuit breakers. We need structured interventions to pull us entirely out of worldly time. And that's where the 5 daily prayers, the salah, come in.
And these aren't just mechanical chores. They are scheduled, intimate audiences with the Almighty, a holistic physical and spiritual reset. Even the preparation, the wudu, the ritual washing.
Washing the face, arms, and feet with cool water.
Right. Physiologically, cooling those extremities stimulates the vagus nerve. It lowers the heart rate. But symbolically, you aren't just washing off physical dust. You are washing away the stress, the harsh words, the missteps committed since your last prayer.
You step onto the prayer rug completely clean. And the biomechanics of the prayer amplify this. Think about the act of prostration, sujud, where the forehead touches the floor.
It's incredible. You place your head at the center of the intellect, which can be so arrogant and noisy, physically below the level of your heart.
Biologically, that alters blood pressure, right? It forces blood to the frontal lobe and shifts the nervous system out of fight or flight and into the parasympathetic rest and digest mode.
Exactly. You are in the ultimate state of physical vulnerability. The tradition says that in this exact moment of absolute humility, you are closest to God. The goal is kushu, this awe-inspired, heavy concentration where the world just fades away.
But the connection isn't restricted to the prayer rug either. An informal prayer, just a whispered request for guidance in a crowded train station, is a direct hotline.
Yeah, and this integration of the body ties into this massive paradigm shift, the concept of mana, a divine trust.
Right, the idea that our bodies, our minds, our time, they don't actually belong to us. We're just the stewards. I think the best analogy for this is renting a luxury car versus owning a cheap beater.
Yes. If you own a rundown beater,
Yeah.
you treat it terribly, you leave trash in it, you skip the oil changes because it's yours. The consequences are yours.
Yeah. But if someone hands you the keys to a priceless rental and says they're coming back to collect it, your behavior completely changes. You drive it carefully, you keep it spotless because you are accountable to the actual owner.
And when you apply that to your own biology, it reframes everything. Eating healthy, sleeping well, managing your digital diet, these are no longer acts of narcissistic self-optimization. They become profound acts of worship and respect for the owner.
Even sleeping, if your intention is to rest so you can do good deeds the next day, becomes a spiritual exercise. And if you treat your attention as a sacred trust, your mental awareness naturally elevates. You upgrade your mindfulness,
You go from just being present to realizing exactly who you are present with.
which is the shift from horizontal awareness to vertical awareness. Western mindfulness is horizontal. Just be in the moment. Observe your thoughts without judgment. But Muraqabah takes that presence and turns it vertical.
Muraqabah is deep inner vigilance, the internalized constant awareness that the Creator is observing you. There's that great story of the companion testing the simple shepherd.
Oh, yeah. He asked the shepherd to secretly sell him one of his master's sheep, right?
Yeah.
And told him to just say, a wolf ate it. No one would ever know.
Right. And the shepherd didn't quote scripture or debate ethics. He just asked a single question. And where's God?
Just a profound level of vertical awareness. That internal compass alters every decision. And the highest level of this is Ihsan, spiritual excellence, worshiping God as if you see him, because even if you can't see him, you know with absolute certainty that he sees you.
Which fundamentally challenges how we view enlightenment. You don't need to quit your corporate job and move to a mountaintop ashram.
Exactly. The ultimate spiritual peak is found right in the mundane. It's washing the dishes, navigating a crowded grocery store, or just looking at the intricate design of an oak leaf on a random Tuesday.
It makes the profane completely holy. It's absolute divine unity, Tawhid. It's kind of like quantum entanglement, where subatomic particles remain connected across vast distances.
So at a fundamental spiritual level, there is no separation. Everything is woven together.
Everything you interact with, the barista, the rain falling, it all exists and pulses through the continuous will of a singular creator. When you hit that state of Ihsan, you stop seeing a random, chaotic universe, and you start seeing a unified, intentional tapestry.
So to synthesize this deep dive, true spirituality isn't some loud, spectacular lightning bolt from the sky. It's quiet. It grows steadily in the spiritual heart, nurtured in community, and maintained through sincere reset. The modern world isn't actually hiding the divine from us. It's just gotten too loud for us to hear it. The frequency is always broadcasting, but our dials are tuned to the static.
And the challenge is whether we are willing to intentionally hit the mute button on that static.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we want to leave you with a concrete impulse for today. Don't just listen to this and immediately scroll to the next piece of content. Sometime today, ideally in the middle of your absolute busiest, most stressful hour, stop for exactly 1 minute.
Close your eyes. Step completely out of the world's noise.
Observe the biological miracle of your own breath. And from the depth of your awareness, acknowledge the presence of something greater than your to-do list. Because it's in those tiny, deliberate moments of pause that the rust finally begins to fall off the mirror.
That is so true.
I want to leave you with this final thought to mull over. Science beautifully maps the how of creation, how cells divide, how neuroplasticity shapes our perception. But our fundamental human thirst will only ever find the ultimate why through a divine connection. We started by talking about our modern obsession with control and self-optimization. But what if the ultimate life hack the universe offers isn't about taking total control of your life, but learning how to gracefully surrender it?